Hey, everybody, it's Andy Bernstein, your host of the Legends of Sport podcast. Well, we don't call this the Legends of Sport podcast for nothing. We brought many, many legends to you guys. I loved conversations with people across the board of sports. This guest today on this episode is truly a legend of sport. By definition, because he changed sport. He changed the sport that he played, and he changed the landscape of sports across the board worldwide. I'm talking about the great Spencer Haywood. Spencer led the way in 1971 with a Supreme Court decision against the NBA that allowed young underclassmen, players that had not played 4 years of college or had 4 years post high school to come into the NBA and play. He was sort of thrust into that situation by a variety of circumstances, which we talk about on the podcast. Here's a guy who literally came from the cotton fields of Mississippi, ended up playing ball in Detroit, and all of a sudden he finds himself as the youngest player on the U.S. Olympic team in 1968, the gold medal team. Of course, that one was known for the famous Tommy Smith, John Carlos Black Fist protest on the victory stand. Spencer talks about that. He talks about his long career in the NBA, his battles with addiction, and how that has led him to serenity and peace at this point in his life, which he has never experienced before, but he's thankful. And man, I just blown away by this conversation. I know you guys are going to enjoy it. On the heels of watching Winning Time as well, which Spencer's character is a huge part of. He talks a lot about that as well. So without further ado, here's the great Spencer Haywood on the Legends of Sport podcast. And as always, I'll see you on the backside. I want to welcome the legendary, the Hall of Famer, the man himself, Spencer Haywood, to the Legends of Sport podcast. I can't tell you, Spencer, what a thrill it is for me to just be across the screen from you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Andrew. This is you are a legend. So
I don't know. You know, you and I could probably concur that the word legend just means you've been around too long, or you're just too old, or something. But I don't know.
No, it means that we've earned our stripes.
Thank you, my friend.
And that's a good thing. Yeah.
You know, you and I have crossed paths many times. We've chatted a little bit here and there throughout our NBA lives and my 40 years. I mean, I've seen you at so many international events, and of course at the Hall of Fame, and anything that involves legends and players and our mutual friends, from David Stern to Charlie Rosenzweig, and so many people that we know together. When I was in the bubble, I was introduced to your book. Well, not your book, but the book about you, written by
it is my book.
It is your book. That's right.
Yeah, well, Mark Spears, the great Mark Spears from ESPN,
and Gary Washburn.
Gary Washburn from the Boston Globe.
Right. Yeah. Two amazing guys. That time in the bubble was a whole other story, but the fact that that I was able to be introduced to you and your story through this book, is super valuable to me, and to understand the history and what you really have meant, not only to the NBA, but across the board in sports. So Spencer, let's really get into it. Your background is really well known. You grew up in Silver City, Mississippi, basically picking cotton, right?
Yes.
I
was picking cotton.
You were, yes, right. And you've
picking
talked about
from sun up to sundown.
Yeah,
and that's all we did in Silver City, Mississippi. And some people might get confused with the name. You're from Silver City. It ain't no city, and it ain't no city.
There's no silver in that city, right?
No.
In the book, you talk about the fact that the arduous work of picking cotton, 12, 14, whatever, 16 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week, prepared you for basketball, right? Physically, probably mentally. Can you talk about that? Can you talk about your background and how, once you discovered basketball, I guess it was in elementary school, that journey?
Well, when I say we were farmers picking cotton in Silver City, Mississippi, it was a farming community. of like 300 people at max.
Mm.
And all you had was cotton, corn. Of course, cotton was the mainstay because, you know, we were supplying the world with cotton. And it was a history of that cotton because my foreparents, grandparents, parents before them, all picked cotton in that similar field for over 200 years.
Mm.
So, so when I came down to my mother, she was a cotton picker since she was 4 years old. And so all she knew was picking cotton. And so I went out into the field when I was born, because when you were born in Silver City, Mississippi, you're born by midwife. And with that midwife, you couldn't leave the baby at home because you had to get out into the field, so that you would just put the baby on the sack. So my earliest memories of like a little kid, maybe at 2, was pulling the low cotton because your cotton stalk is high and you have low cotton on the lower level. So you're riding on a sack of cotton, and you as a baby, you like picking that little cotton out of there, you know, because everybody else is picking. So you're just mimicking what you see. Sure. So I did my cotton picking for years and years. And I look back on it and I said, what was my higher power trying to tell me? What was God trying to prepare me for? All right. I was picking from, you know, like I got up to 6, 7. So I started picking, and I was picking with both hands because I had 2 rows of cotton. I wanted to beat my brothers. So I picked with 2 rows of cotton, and that gave me hand and eye coordination. Because the cotton is a thorn, and you have to go inside that thorn and pull the cotton out. So I had delicate fingers, and then as well, I was pulling the sack as a young kid. A sack can get up to 100 pounds, 110. So I was pulling it. So my legs and my body was developed like ridiculous. And so when I picked up basketball came pretty simple to me because it was like I could work with my left hand, I could work with my right hand. And I had strong legs, and I had a nemesis named Andrew Haywood, my brother, that was older.
Which is a story many times when you're trying to,
Well, I'm just saying, this guy was there, you know, and he was like, I'm going to keep my foot on your neck. And so consequently, I had a brother named Floyd, was younger than I. So I would like try to take it out, but I wasn't as brutal as Andrew. But we started playing basketball, and we just played basketball because we couldn't go in the field. The fields were dry of cotton. And so we had this, my mother says, like, hey guys, I can make you a better basketball and a better backboard and a better basket than anybody in this whole little county. Yeah. Like, yeah, sure. Okay. Because we wasn't going to buy one because we didn't have any money. Sure. All right, let's show you how you do it. You put this board up and you make a backboard. We build this backboard out of boards, and we had the backboard configured. And then we was like, where are we going to get a basket? No, you don't have to worry about getting a basket. I got a basket right here, a barrel rim. Wow. Put the barrel rim up and it's hanging. Okay, Mom, where are we going to get a ball? Don't worry, I got a ball for you. Yeah. So I'm going to make you a ball out of this cotton. And all you have to do is imagine you taking 2 bounds, bop, bop, make the pass or make the shoot. Wow. And we were like, oh, cool. Yeah. And so we started playing with this big barrel, and you can never miss with a barrel. I mean, really. Yeah. The game was right. And you're playing on dirt, basically? Dirt? Oh, yeah. You think we're going to go into a gym? I never saw a gym until way later. I thought your mom might have had some hardwoods that, stashed somewhere. No. Strictly dirt. So we would play, and of course, Andrew would make 3 bops. So you would say 2 bops, make a pass, or shoot. He would take 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And like, oh boy, this guy. Yeah. And so that is how I started playing basketball, and it was so much fun because you could never miss, and the ball would hit up on the backboard and just fall, boop, because it had no air in it. Were you exposed to any organized basketball? I mean,
were there community colleges around, or did other kids? I mean, you were literally in a rural area, not exposed to anything. There's obviously no TV in those days over there. Wow. So you were just kind of making it up as you
We
went.
were making it up as we go, and
That's amazing.
we just enjoyed it, you know.
Yeah.
And we,
Yeah.
from time to time, later on in my Mississippi career in the cotton field, I
Yeah.
was able to listen to one of the Hawks games, you
Uh-huh.
know, the St. Louis Hawks,
Right.
with Lenny Wilkins. Who is it? Bob Pettit.
Oh, Bob Pettit. Sure. Yeah.
Bob Pettit. Yeah, the hook from the corner. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, maybe I can. Well, I
Yeah.
want to see a game one day in life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we kept playing. And then when I went to elementary school,
Uh-huh.
they had a team, an outdoor team.
Hmm.
And I was like, I just want to play on that team
Mhm.
because my brothers before me, they played on that team. I was
Right.
like, wow, if I can get on this team, I might be better than these guys.
Yeah.
So I got on that team
Uh-huh.
and we were playing and playing and playing. And so I got so good, but we're still on the outdoor court now. We're still playing dust bowl.
Yeah. Wow.
Remember that?
Sure.
No
Yeah.
gym.
Wow.
So we're dusting. And then we finally make it to Louise, the next town over,
Mhm.
and they had a gym.
Mhm.
And that was going to be the big tournament, and it was the big tournament.
Hmm.
So everybody is talking, wow, man. My name was Weedy back then. I didn't have Spencer yet.
Right.
It was Weedy Boy in.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
so I was playing, and,
Yeah.
and the word had got around to the school up in Belzoni,
Mhm.
Mississippi,
Mhm.
where it's like 7 miles away, the high school and stuff. So the high school coach came down because I was like 7th grade, you know, and I
Yeah.
had grown and stuff. I'm like gangly and tall. So he came down, and lo and behold, in this tournament, I'm looking, what is my brother doing here? What is Andrew doing here?
Yeah.
So he go and tell the other team, I can show you how to win.
Mhm. Mhm.
Cut my glory off.
Right.
So he puts on the uniform, and I'm out there arguing, hey, that's my brother. Y'all know he's illegal. He can't play here. And so he played,
Yeah.
and he won, but I won, but it wasn't like a good win because
Yeah.
he forfeited, the team forfeited,
Right.
and we just had it out. We were bloody up. We bloodied each other up out on the floor. It was kind of, you know, brotherly love thing.
Amazing. Amazing. That's
And-
amazing.
Yeah.
So fast forward just a little bit, and you end up going north, right? You end up going to Detroit
Yes.
through a series of circumstances. I mean, I can't even imagine what that decision was like, not only for you, but for your mother, and to be leaving this small community, going up north. I mean, it's like when I moved to California from Brooklyn, I mean, I'd been around a little bit, but
Yeah. I hadn't been around.
that was like to me going to another planet. I can't even imagine what it was like.
I went to the moon.
Yeah. Right.
But what
Yeah.
happened was, as a big kid grew big in Silver City,
Mhm.
they would put you in jail for a while.
Hmm.
And if it didn't work there, they would put you in Parchment prison.
For what reason? Just to keep you in
Just
your
being
place,
tall.
or just for being tall? Okay.
Being tall and big, you know? And so they put me in jail for a night, and my mom said, look, we're not gonna let this happen to you.
Hmm.
Because they want you to stay on the farm, and they want you to just be relegated to this farm. So we got some money together from neighbors and everybody, because everybody was involved in this exit.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
like Exodus.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, right. So I get on the bus, and I travel all the way to Chicago to be with my brothers there because they were rich. So I thought. So I get to Chicago, and my brother picked me up at the bus station, and we are like, okay. So I pull up in the front of the brownstone where he was living, and I was like, wow, I got a whole floor to myself. I've been pissed on by Floyd, my younger brother, been beat down by Andrew. I got my own stash right here. And he said, no, we live on the top floor up there, and you got to sleep on the floor.
It's a rude awakening, or
Rude awakening. Then the
Yeah.
second rude awakening was like, I'm taking this car back
Yeah, yeah.
because the car was rented.
Uh,
Another rude awakening. Third rude awakening was, well, what happened to all that money you would show me when you come to Mississippi? This big roll. He was like, fool's gold.
Hmm.
It was like had ones and they had a 20 on top, and you were so excited. So, you know, it looked like a big thing. I was like, wow, what a disappointment.
Hey,
And so I ended up getting a job. I was like 14. I got this job at Fred Harvey's restaurant downtown Chicago,
uh-huh.
and was working. In between school, I was going to go to the school that Cassie Russell had went to, Crane Tech.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, my brother, who had moved up north with my aunt,
Mhm.
he had played at Northeastern High School and was an All-American there. And he went on to Bowling Green State University. So he came in and he said, you know, and first of all, I was looking at his clothing and I was looking at Andrew and Joe's clothing. And I was like, whoa. These guys had on these green jelly looking ugly suits with those derby hats, looked like Clockwork Orange. And I was like, oh, and he came in with a cardigan shirt,
Yeah.
you know, like a nice cap, and it had wingtip shoes. I was like, whoa, that's what I want to be.
And what year was this?
This was in '64.
Okay.
So he says,
Yeah.
I hear you got basketball skills. Let's see if you can play. So we went over to the playground. We played all day long.
Hmm.
So when we finished playing, he said, get your stuff. I don't know what's going to happen, but you can't stay here with these guys. I'm taking you back to the university, Bowling Green State University with me. So I get on campus and like, oh, shh.
This is nice. Yeah.
This is nice.
Yeah.
And I was conversing with white players because the dorm matron was like, he can't stay here.
Mhm.
And you know it's illegal, Roy. I don't know why you would bring him over here. He has no place to stay. So he said, we'll work it out. So I started staying with the white players because she never looked in their room.
Yeah, yeah.
I sleep on the floor. And I stayed there with them, and I got a chance to integrate my life because before that I was like segregated.
Wow.
And that was pretty cool. And then we had the big tournament coming up at Crunk Gym.
Crunk, sure.
Crunk outdoor court.
Yeah.
You had like the high school players, you had the college players in C2A Division 1, 2, and 3, and then you had the Pistons. They were all playing this big tournament, 4th of July type thing. And so I came in town, man, I was like, whoa, I want to play in that tournament. I had turned 15 and I was like feeling my oats, and I had been playing with the big boys down at Bowling Green. I was like, hey. And they kept telling me, this boy can run all day.
Yeah. Didn't you play like 4 games in a row or some?
Yeah. I was like, that was nothing. I was out of the cotton field.
Yeah.
Andrew, come on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a testament to how resilient and strong-minded and strong of body that you were in those days.
Yeah. So we played the high school game, and in the locker room, I knew those guys were in trouble because they didn't even want to wear the Converse shoes.
What were you wearing? What kind of shoes were you wearing?
I had a Converse shoes, but my bottom head came out. So I had cardboard in my bottom.
Come on, really?
Yeah, I did. I had a big circle in my shoe. So, and they gave me those shoes. I put them on. I was like, oh, Lordy, I can fly.
Wow.
And they were still arguing over the other side. I want to play in Adidas. They want to play in Pro Kids.
Yeah.
I got on a pair of Converse.
Yeah.
That fit, you know. And so I went out there and dominated those guys. And everybody, the coaches came over and all of the players were around. Even the pros, like, oh man, this guy, this is a hoax. So I played against the college guys. Cassie Russell said, all right, play with us. Me, Bill Buttons, Larry Trigani, and another player from Michigan. So I got on that team and I played well and did well. And he was like, wow, this guy is unbelievable. Are you tired? I was like, tired of what?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Wow, incredible.
They were like, all you do is drink water and play? Yeah. So then Dave Bean says, come on, play on my team. The pros. And I played with the pros. I was like, Oh, I never heard of the Pistons. I didn't even know what the heck was going on with pro NBA. So I played on that team, and then all of a sudden, Will Robinson, who became the first Black coach in Division I history, and he said, "This is my boy here. I want him. So we're gonna have to put him up in a home near Persian. We're gonna have to adopt him, and I'm gonna raise him for the next 2 years." And then when he introduced me to the team, he said, "Boys, we've been playing with Muse. I got me a horse. And here's your horse. We're going to ride him all the way to the Class A state championship." And I was like, wow, somebody gave me some kudos, you know?
That's amazing, Spencer. It's such a great story. It's just so inspiring. I mean, just your pure talent, your will to just want to play ball, you know, it's just the love of the game.
Love of the game.
Yeah, which we all lose sight of, you know, at some point, but it's really where it started, you know, and then
where it started. But he had to do some other things to get me ready for that season, because my reading was bad, because, you know, the schools are let out in Silver City so that you could do the farm work. So I had to get this Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Yeah, I read about him. Yeah.
How is God working in my life? He put Wayne Dyer in my life right at that point. He put this professor of English, and because I was like, raw. So they changed my tone, my voice, and my speaking, my cadence, and also Wayne, because he was this white guy, and I never had that kind of interaction with the white guy, and he would always hit me under my chin. "You got to look me in my eyes," because I was like from Mississippi. If you look the white man now, you're going to get punched in the head. Boom. I was like, okay, I got it. And so they would take me up to Birmingham and drop me off in Birmingham, Michigan, to be sociable. And then they park a little further away and drinking coffee and stuff. And I'm out there being sociable. And I was like, oh my God, this is so great. Look at all these great stores.
I mean, that's a suburb. I mean,
that's a suburb, and it's really snooty, you know?
Yeah.
So then we would drive back to the school, and then I had English class. Then I also had ballet, because my balance was like off. So I had ballet, and then I had swimming, because I knew I had to swim in Mississippi, you know, that was part of it. And then I had this English tutor that was just constantly, you know. He had to project. What is project? I don't know.
Incredible.
So we finished that year with the dream of Will Robinson, which was to win the Class A state championship. After a 35-year drought, Persian High School, we won it.
As a freshman, you were a freshman?
No. That's 2 years later.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So 2 years down the road, we won it. And then I was like, oh man, I mean, I got to choose a college to go to, a university. So the University of Tennessee came in and said, "I know you want to let your family see you play down in Mississippi, so we're going to sign you." And I was like, oh, that sounds like a pretty good idea, because I wanted to go to Michigan, because Bill Buntons and Cassie and all those guys had, you got to go to Michigan. And Rudy Tomjanovich, what we used to do in high school, we would ride by this place called Krajicki Buick. And we was like, man, I can't wait to get a deuce and a quarter.
A deuce.
That's a car called an
Electra 225. My dad had one of those.
A quarter, you know.
Deuce and a quarter. I love that.
And so he was going to Michigan, and Stevie Fishman, all those guys. So I was going to go up there, but I ended up going to the University of Tennessee. And when I got there and everything was working out, and he was there for the summer, Mr. Adolph Rupp said, "Whoa, wait a minute here now. I just lost to 5 blacks in Texas Western game. I was supposed to have the first black in this conference, black superstar. Now, we're going to have to work something out." So
that was Kentucky, right?
So I was like, whoa, man, I didn't want to be in no pissing contest. So Will said, "I got a place for you. It's like close to Albuquerque, and it's also close to Denver." I was like, cool. So I get out there at Trinidad State Junior College, 420 miles from Albuquerque, 360 from Denver.
Literally the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I just started playing, studying, because if you maintain to be average, you can then enter into a NC2 Division I school and just
Yeah.
go on with your life. So lo and behold, I'm out there playing, and I became the junior college player of the year.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, the '68 Olympics is rolling around.
Right.
I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the coach said,
what are the Olympics? Right.
what are the Olympics? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Coach says, Coach Vern Moses said, listen, Jerry Tarkanian is putting together an all-star team to take down to
Mhm.
Albuquerque to play against the NC2A guys. I was like, right away, my antenna was like, whoa, I can play against the guys that I was supposed to play against, but you couldn't play as the freshman, so I was just going to be wasting my time.
Right.
So I went down for the tryouts thinking, you know, Andrew, I'll get me some of that gear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go back to Detroit, show my boys like, hey, you know, I'm rolling. And lo and behold, I was the first player picked. And I was like, oh,
unbelievable. Yeah.
What am I going to do about this passport deal?
Yeah. And how old you were? What, 18?
18, yeah.
18. Unbelievable. And you didn't have a passport. This is
a passport.
This is a crazy
because that was the big deal, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody get your passports ready, get your passports ready, get your birth certificate ready. I'm like,
right.
I signed an affidavit for Will Robinson and Mrs. Bell to enter into Persian.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if everybody got a doggone birth certificate, boy.
Yeah.
Call your mother. So they called the store, because we didn't have a phone, to call the store. And my mother came over. Yeah, I got a passport here. I got it right here in my Bible. See, I got it right here on the John 21.
Oh. That was basically your birth certificate, right? Was your mother writing in your Bible? Yeah.
Yeah, they put it on the John 21. My dad was John, so why not throw him in there? And so the Jackson Daily News came down and they took a picture of it. You wouldn't know how the camera worked. And they shot the Bible, and they went and created a birth certificate. And then I'm off to Russia.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. That's
Russia, Yugoslavia, and then to Finland, and came back, and we scrimmaged the Knicks.
Yeah.
And we were like struggling, like, whoa, man, what are we going? Because everybody thought, because you didn't have Kareem, you didn't have Elvin Hayes, you didn't have Wes Unseld, you didn't have Bob Lanier, you didn't have, you didn't have Pistol Pete Maravich, because he got cut.
He got cut. I didn't know.
Calvin Murphy got cut.
Yeah.
Rick Mount got cut.
Well, Kareem, I don't know about Wes and the other guys, but Kareem didn't go because he was protesting. Basically.
He was protesting.
Did not want to go.
Elvin and Wes said he wasn't protesting, but they signed that pro contract. When you sign a pro contract, then you're ineligible for amateur play.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Politically.
Yeah. Oh, I understand.
Yeah. And so we played against the Knicks, and it was just beautiful playing against them. And I had knew Dave DeBusschere just growing up in Detroit.
Yeah.
And he kind of took me under the wing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get you back to Detroit. I was like, I don't want to go back to
well,
I'm going to UCLA. I'm playing with Kareem or somebody else.
Incredible.
So we played there, and they geeked us up, man. We won the game, and they were like, these ragtag guys are going to win. Yeah. They're going to win. They're going to win maybe a silver or bronze. They're going to do something. Then we go to Cincinnati to play the Royals in a scrimmage.
Yeah.
And Oscar Robertson set us down and sit me down and said, Will Robinson told me to tell you some good news. Good news. I played in the Olympics recently, me and Jerry West. So
the 60 Olympics.
You're going to win the gold.
Yeah.
So we arrive on the campus, and here come this big old guy all swole up. Yeah, I'm gonna knock out every Russian. I'm like, who is this guy? It was George Foreman.
Right. Which he proceeded to do, by the way.
Which he proceeded to do. So we go into the commissary to get our food, and everybody was all nervous around these two guys. I'm like, who are those two guys?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Tommy Smith and John Carlos.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the troublemakers?
Well, we got to talk about that, Spencer, because here you are. You know, you're a young guy. You're with the Olympic team, the youngest member of the Olympic team, by the way, right? And you're in Mexico City, and you know that incredibly famous protest with Tommy Smith and John Carlos, the Black Fist on the victory stand. I mean, how did, the United States was so charged then with civil rights issues, and Martin Luther King had just been murdered, and of course Bobby Kennedy. The Vietnam War, people are protesting. The country was being torn apart, very similar to what we've been through here, in the last couple of years, with things just boiling over, right? And here you are, young guy in Mexico City. These guys are protesting. How did you react to that in the moment? And then and also talk about once you got back to the U.S., how you felt that the repercussions were going to be.
Well, let me tell you what happened down there, because the protest hadn't happened. And so there was this rumbling about the protest coming. So they brought in Wilma Rudolph and Jesse Owens. So they had us all in this big room, and we were speaking, and we were talking. They were talking about why they was not happy with what was going on in America, John and Tommy and Lee Evans. And so I was just listening. I'm like, hey, man. And me and George Foreman was touching each other. Man, we just want to get the food out of the commissary, eat all of this stuff.
Get the metal around your neck and get the hell out, right?
Get out of there. So they had Wilma Rudolph speak, and she spoke. Very eloquent, and like, okay, guys, you gotta go, and no shenanigans. And then Jesse got up and spoke, and as he was speaking, and he was talking about, you're not gonna have a good life when you get back to America. Stay sharp, stay clean, and don't do anything to upset America and the Olympic Committee. So John Carlos spoke up, and we were like, oh, John, don't say nothing. And he's running his mouth. And just said, hold it. What would have been like if you had to run before Hitler? We were like, oh boy.
Which he did.
Which was true. Which he was like subhuman, the whole everything. So right away, all of us looked over at each other. John and Tommy looked at each other like, we got to go. We got to get going. So everybody walked out of that meeting like, it's all good. And so then Bob Beeman talking that mess. He's the long jumper. I'm going to jump out of the pit in this Mexico air. He jumped out of the pit. Set a record.
He was amazing.
Dina Deveroni, who was this great swimmer. I'm going to set records all over the place. And I'm like, come on, white girl, why are you talking like this? You're talking like you are a sister. She set records all over the place. So Dick Fosbury, I got something new I'm going to break out. Yeah. So we go to his meet, because you had to go as a team to all of the events. So he go up to the bar and jumps backwards. We're like,
Fosbury flop, right?
So he won. And then it came around to the Olympic event with Tommy and John. So they took off racing, and it was a good run. And we was like, dang, Tommy is like skating, man. He's like kicking it. And then John looked over at Peter, who was the Australian, and we were like, John, don't look, keep your eye on the track. So John looked over, and he finished third. And of course, Peter, I don't know his name, Peter from Australia.
Yeah, the Australian.
He finished second, and then Thomas Smith finished first.
Right.
And then you get up on stage and they put up the glove, and we were like, oh, no, they didn't. They didn't do what they said they wasn't going to do. They did it.
Yes, they did do it. And the ripple effect, the repercussions, it was like a nuclear bomb went off, right?
Nuclear bomb dropped right in our village. Because we hadn't finished our game. We had to play for the gold medal against Yugoslavia, because we had been taught all of that time, Russia's coming, we're gonna knock them Russians out, blah, blah, blah. And Yugoslavia knocked them out.
Right. So you didn't get to play against the Russians.
You didn't get a chance to play against them. So Avery Brundage, who was a friend of Hitler, and for the
Olympic Committee. He was
the Olympic Committee,
the IOC.
So everybody, you two got to get out of here. We're going to take your passports. Might not even let you get out of here. And so, they marched Tommy and John, and I'm like sitting there crying, like, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would they do something to them? They came and performed, and they
Yeah.
were just saluting the brothers at home. Right on.
Yeah.
So, and it was like horrible. And then it came to all of us, George and all of us and me. If you do anything, you think about anything, I'm going to take your passport. You're stuck here in Mexico City.
Wow.
Right away, John McLendon, who was, one of the assistant coaches, he called Will Robinson, get down here. This pressure is coming on Spencer real rough. So I was like, why are they here?
Yeah.
And
Somehow
like,
you're the eye of the storm at that point.
yeah. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Man, I just got out of Mississippi. I don't even know what this protest stuff is all about.
Right.
So, and Will said, I'll tell you what it is all about.
Yeah.
If you do anything stupid, say anything, I'm going to kill you right here.
Oh my God. Wow.
That's just it. So we won and got on that podium with the gold medal. I'm standing between Bill Hoskett, JoJo White, and they like screaming, Haywood, grande. And I was like, what are they talking about?
Right.
So the medal ceremony, and they put it on this guy's neck, and I'm like, oh man. And Bill Hoskett and JoJo White said, don't you act no fool up here. Don't fall out. Don't get nervous and faint. So because I was sweating and I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, Andrew, all I could think about was 4 years ago, I was a slave in Mississippi picking cotton. And now I am the leader of this gold medal basketball team.
Yeah.
So when the medal ceremony got to my neck, and I'm like just crying, like, and they were like, grow up here, get yourself together. So I'm like, I can't help it. I'm a young guy. I'm not like old like you guys. So I put the gold medal on, and that was my whole thought was like, wow,
unbelievable.
America is truly America.
Right. But when you got back to the States, Detroit specifically, what were the repercussions? I mean, were you?
Well, I thought it was going to be a lot of repercussions. I thought it was going to be like, you're a traitor, you traded, you didn't do what John and Tommy did,
Right.
Come on, bro, what's wrong with you? So we landed at the airport, and back then, people could come out to the airport and do things for the young audience.
Right. You have your medal around your neck.
Yeah, I had my medal on my neck and everything. Man, it was like thousands of people out there cheering. Whoa, you did it. You did it. Young boy. And I was like, oh, they ain't gonna kill me. And the mayor of Detroit, Mayor Kavanaugh, and Governor Romney, Romney's dad, was there, and the University of Detroit people were like, we need to rebuild this city because we just had a riot in '67, and they had Willie Horton was there from the Tigers. So I was like, hey, I'm going back to the University of Detroit, no problem. Then they said, we're going to give the job to Will Robinson.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, hey.
Yeah, that was perfect for you. Yeah.
So I went out there and played and became the outstanding college player of the year behind Kareem, and was ready to go. And then they changed their mind, said, no, we're not going to have no black coach. And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. And you can't leave, because if you leave, you would have to sit out a year.
Right.
And so the ABA, the American Basketball Association, which was the upcoming league with the red, white, and blue ball, they came around saying, well, we didn't get Kareem in the draft. And we don't know how we can beat the NBA in their draft, the way that they set up their draft. We can't compete. We need something different. So we're going to offer a contract to you to play in the ABA. And I was like, I'm going to get paid?
Yeah. There you go. Right.
My mother can get out of the cotton field?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm on my way.
You were 2 years into college at that point?
2 years, yeah, 2 years.
Okay.
So Hannah Storm's father, Mark, Mike, he was like, I can sell this. So he gets up on the podium when I signed the agreement. We want to give Spencer Haywood an opportunity to play because his family is poor in Mississippi, and there's no way they can survive without him making some money.
Yeah.
And so the NC2A and everybody dropped their suit and like, well, the University of Detroit, well, let's let him go because it's going to bring more and more attention to the NC2A and to our program.
Right.
And then the NBA was like, it'll never happen in our league.
Right. Because they had a 4-year
4-year
rule,
rule.
right? And that
So,
I mean, it seems so foreign to us
but
now.
4 years meaning that you
Yeah.
had to wait for 4 years after your high school class graduated before you could go into the NBA.
Right.
And the ABA said, well, look, if you can get 5 points and maybe 3 rebounds, this gambit would work.
Yeah.
So I got 30 points.
Yeah. Well,
and 20 rebounds, basically 19.5, and was the rookie of the year
and MVP
of the league, and the MVP of the All-Star game.
Oh my God, that's
So I
crazy.
won all of the awards.
Yeah.
They said, we're going to make you the richest man in the world in sports. So they gave me this Bernie Madoff contract.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you get your base salary, and then the rest of it was deferred.
Yeah.
But since I was so young,
yeah,
I was like just signing things. I'm okay. These people will never cheat me. And the contract was read by Al Ross. Al looked at the contract as my new agent, and he said, "This is some garbage." Oh, man. You know how you Brooklyn guys.
Yeah,
garbage.
Garbage. Yeah.
Garbage. So, so we looked at the contract, and I said, "Wait a minute. You mean they telling you this contract is reading that I can't get my money until age 50 to age 70?
Yeah.
And I gotta be employed by Ringsby Truck Line to receive it?"
Yes.
So we went in and we said, "Hey, Mr. Ringsby, we need to straighten out this contract." And I was like, "You speak, Al. I'm too dumb to speak." So Al was like just talking. So they looked up at both of us and said, "I'll tell you what, you get your ass out of here and take that Jew-ass lawyer with you."
Oh, shit. Okay.
And they threw us out of the office, and we were like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah. And then, so then what? So then you
we said,
yeah,
all right, Jerry Colangelo had just got Connie Hawkins from the ABA.
Right.
And they had the new owners, the new expansion was Seattle and Phoenix.
Right.
So Sam Schumer said, let's tear that league down. They rated our player. They just got Rick Barry. They got all of our players. Let's get their players.
Yeah.
So I want Haywood, and Lenny Wilkins and Rod Thorne was the assistant coach and player coach, both of them. No, you can't do it because he's not eligible. He's got another year.
Right.
And Sam says, no, I'm going to break that stupid rule. I was like, you're going to pay for this?
Yeah, that took a lot of guts on his part.
A lot of guts, because the NBA said, we're taking your franchise, away from you, Sam, and blah, blah, blah. So we put this legal team together, and all of a sudden, I'm like in Seattle. I had a real contract, and I got Lenny Wilkins and Rod Thorne picking me up every morning at Thunderbird, talking about basketball. That's all I ever wanted to do, is talk basketball and be a basketball. And I had older guys, Tom Masheri, who was also, he was an enforcer, and he was like, nobody's going to hurt my rookie. And so, I'm not a rookie, but I'll take it. And so we went out and started playing, and all of a sudden, I get an injunction. And it was like, what's an injunction?
Means you ain't playing in the NBA.
You ain't playing, and that was the key word. You ain't playing. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have an injunction against number 24, and he cannot play tonight. This is an illegal player.
They actually made that announcement at a game.
Of course they did, yes.
Wow.
Okay. And so I was like, okay.
So the NBA is playing. They're playing hardball at this.
Hardball, yeah, because it's just the way the system is.
Yeah.
And so I sat for the next 10 days or 10 games. Yeah. Then I got an injunction to play.
Right.
And my injunction was reading that I should be playing. And every night when the game, the illegal player is playing, but the game is under protest.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Spencer, tell me, what was the NBA afraid of? I mean, it's hard to look back at this, 40, 50 years, in the past, but what were they really afraid of?
52 years. They was afraid of the bedrock principle of like, we don't want these young guys coming in.
White or black, right? We're not talking, it's not a racial thing, right? It's
well, we didn't want them coming in, we think. And then, we had the union who said, Well, they had told Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, all of those great players, if that movement take place, you guys are going to be kicked out of this league because you're older, you got families and everything. So it was chaotic. So the union didn't accept me. And
did the NCAA, were they
were involved? Oh my God, they were
sure.
involved. Yeah, Duke Energy, everybody's throwing money around saying,
right.
This happened. As we know, college basketball is going to be ruined by this one greedy player. And we're going to lose all of our revenue. All of the players are going to leave after 1 or 2 years, 3 years, and our system is gone. We can't make any more money. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not supposed to make money because we're 501c3. Well, so they were wrapped around all of this stuff. So the stuff went on and on. So I get to Cincinnati, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, it's going to be a good night tonight. But they slammed me with the injunction, and they said, ladies and gentlemen, we got an injunction against them tonight. But, and I was like, what's the but? Tonight, he must stand outside of the grounds on which this arena set on. So they put me out into the snow.
Oh my goodness. So
I'm out there freezing my butt off, like, oh man. So they had the 2 policemen who was serving the injunction, and they are looking at me and saying, this kid's gonna freeze.
Oh my God.
Well, look, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna lose our job for this, but get your ass in this car. So I got in the car, we started talking about Mississippi and how I grew up and stuff. And they was like, you tell anybody that we put you in this car, we're gonna lose our jobs. So never, please.
Just cruel. So, it's just cruel.
So that night, and then later on, it was in March 1st of 1971. We had fought for that whole year, all the way up through. And then the case was at the Supreme Court. Al Ross and Frank Rothman, who was lead attorney, and Governor Pat Brown, Jerry Brown's dad. Those were the legal teams. They came in and said, well, we got good news. And I was in Baltimore. We was getting ready to play the Bullets. And the Baltimore Bullets guys, Washington Wizards. Sure. So he says, well, look, you won the case. And I was like, can I go up? And Lenny and everybody said, go up and see what you've done. So I went up to see the case, and then Thurgood Marshall and Justice Ferguson, I think it was explaining that you cannot make a player go back to college because we are sending them to Vietnam at age 18. We are allowing other players to go from baseball, hockey, tennis, all other sports, but the 2 revenue sports, basketball and football, you have to stay. Was it all about the money?
Obviously.
And so obviously it was. So they handed down my case 7-2.
Wow.
And I was like, freedom.
It's incredible, Spencer, because you never asked to be in the eye of the storm, just like going back to even to the Olympics. I mean, you just want to play ball, man. You wanted to represent your country. All of a sudden you're in the middle of this, gigantic racial protest, social justice, all that stuff. In the book, Gary and Mark refer to you as, quote, an unintentional pioneer.
Exactly.
Right? An unintentional pioneer. All of a sudden, the Spencer Haywood Rule is the rule that generations to come are going to be able to flourish by and through. And because of you, and again, you didn't ask for that. It wasn't like something that you intended to do, coming out of Mississippi and Detroit, right? So to talk about how that's reverberated, how the players of today, first of all, there's some that get it and some understand it, and some that are students of the game and some not.
I would say 90% of them not. Only 10% that get it.
That's
because
really,
what's
I didn't
happened,
think you would say that. I thought it was a lot, but not 90%.
90%. What happened was the league decided to call it is Haywood versus the NBA. It's the Supreme Court ruling. But they called it the hardship. Took the name out of it. And then they came up next with early entry.
Yeah.
took my name right out of it.
Yeah.
And then they came up with one and done, took my
Yes.
name right out of it. And
Right.
so I've been begging for 52 years, call it what it is, the Spencer Haywood Rule. That's why we wrote the book.
Yeah, I mean, they have the
So
Larry
that the
Bird
players will
rule.
know.
They have, they have,
Yeah, they have the Larry Bird rule. They
Yeah.
have the Oscar Robertson rule.
Yeah.
They got just all kinds of stuff that they're giving to players now. Magic Johnson, Western Conference.
Yeah.
Larry Bird, Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Bill Russell Award.
Yeah,
Kareem, Social
MVP
Justice
award, yeah.
Award. And
Yeah.
I keep begging. I'm like, Adam, why can't I have my rule? The
Yeah.
Spencer Haywood rule. So they wouldn't know what's going on. So he's working on it.
Wow.
And I've heard that before.
Well,
and the
I think-
Players Association say, well, we're going to work on it. So I think
it seems like a
it's
no-brainer.
a no-brainer, but you know,
I mean, the players have flourished, the league has flourished. I don't know what I can't think for them what they're
before the case.
Yeah.
Andrew, let me just explain. Before the case, we only had 17 teams.
Yeah.
And once I won the case, all of a sudden you had a pool in which to pull from. We grew to this 30 teams.
Yeah, of course.
Each team was worth 300, 400 million. Now they're like 3 billion.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And the owners, everybody, and the players like Luca, all of these players coming from Europe and Africa and Greece.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Look, it doesn't really add up. It doesn't really
add up, but
it doesn't seem to me like you're more confused by it than bitter about it, right? You're not, you
I'm
point
confused,
out,
but not bitter. No.
Right. You point out that 44 of the 75 NBA 75 have benefited directly from what the action that was taken through the Spencer Haywood. And we're going to call it, on my podcast, we're going to call it the Spencer Haywood rule.
Spencer Haywood rule. Yeah.
And the fact that you're not part of the NBA 75, to me,
that hurt because I mean, they take
0 cents. I mean, just talk about your talent as a basketball player, not what it meant to the game or the history and moving forward. It doesn't make sense, Spencer. Why do you feel that is?
Well, it was so hurtful because I was taped for the special, and I was like assured that, your basketball skills were 20 and 10 over the 14 years of your play, put you in the top 75. But then they came up with an idea. Well, he only played in 5 All-Star games.
Yeah.
And I was told by fighting this case, I would never play in an All-Star game. Because that's part of the,
part of the punishment.
Part of the punching down below the belt.
Sure.
So that hurt so bad. And so I just couldn't figure it out. It hurts, but I know that being a recovering addict, this is going into year 35, but it's only one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to let it surrender and let it go. And God or my higher power will take care of all of this in due time, not on my time, but on God's time. So
I understand.
And my psychologists just keep trying to explain to me that I have to let these things go in order to receive the goodness.
Exactly. You can't.
So I'm constantly working on letting it go. But even though it was hard, Andrew, it was like, ugh.
Well, you didn't think you'd be a Hall of Famer either, right? And
no, because it took 27 years. They held me out for 27
that's right.
years.
And and missteps or whatever your demon, when you call it the devil, maybe it was being held against you, or maybe it was sort of in people's forefront of thinking that, but as a basketball player and what you meant to the game,
Right.
Well, listen, Spencer, can we talk a little bit about winning time before we wrap up? Because, everybody's talking about it. I actually had Claire Rothman on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, as a dear, dear friend, and she was very outspoken and very eloquent about it. Right now, you seem to be the only person living person, right, who is depicted in that show, who actually has had a positive reaction, and you call it 95% of how you're portrayed in the show. And a lot of it is very raw, right? A lot of it is incredibly difficult to watch, right?
Yes. My character is he's over the top.
Yes.
But, when I got to the Lakers, just as a player, and we'll talk about winning time. So I got there, I was doing fantastic. I was like in the best shape. I was ready to roll.
Right.
And I fell into a different crowd of people, the Hollywood and the
Right.
whole thing. And
Mhm.
I believed the big lie at that time, like, well, people who are snorting cocaine, it's like it's tearing up their nose and blah, blah, blah. So look, if you freebase it, you put it in this bottle and it's like cook it and all of the ingredients fall to the bottom. And then, so I just believed that big lie and I started smoking and I watched my game go from, I came there with 24-12 from the New Orleans team.
Yeah.
I watched it go by mid-season. I'm down to 16 and maybe 7. And by the end of the season, I was 20 pounds lighter and down to about 215 or something like that. And I went to one of the practices where I fell asleep in the stretching, which I brought to the Lakers. I fell asleep
during the finals.
I had taken the Quaalude to kind of keep my heart from jumping out of my chest.
Right.
And so the trouble started with that because we were at the finals at that time.
Right.
We were in the finals. So I played 2 more games.
This is 1980, by the way.
1980. So I played 2 more games and the players got together and said, we don't want all of this stuff around us because we're dirty too. But nevertheless, I would never say that,
Of course.
And so they put me off the team with 3 games to go. And I played 1 game less than Kareem. And they decided that, I shouldn't be in the parade. They took my playoff share.
Yeah.
Took me out of the photos.
No way. Wow. No championship ring.
No, nothing. All of that was just taken. And I was like, wow. And then on top of that, they sent me to Italy.
Yeah.
And I arrived in Italy. I'm thinking I'm going to be on the ground. They said, no, your city is out there in the ocean, Venice.
Right.
So the Italian people loved me up.
But they sent you to Italy, just to be clear, so that you could sort of play out the contract, I guess.
I play out the contract that I had signed with the Lakers.
And then you could
they didn't want me to go to Dallas or to an expansion team or somebody else in the league to have me. So let's put him way out, exile him like Napoleon or some shit.
Crazy.
Put him way out here,
And
so the Italians loved me up and everything. And so and I had to leave my wife, which at that time was Iman, the fashion model. I had to leave her behind because we had a young daughter, Suleika, and I had 2 of her sisters from Somalia. We were working on getting them green cards and getting them citizenship. So I was away from everything. So I got cleaned up and my life was good. And I spent a lot of time, I hadn't did it before with a priest. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing here with you? So we were like, just talking and I was just getting it all out of my chest and all out.
Were you in recovery in Italy? Were you? Yes. Okay. So there was a good program there.
It was a good program for me, but it wasn't like a traditional program because back then in 1980, 81, there was only a few programs in America.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just thinking you're in a foreign country.
Yeah. So no, what happened was, like I said, I started seeing a priest. That's all you have there.
Right.
So, but I wanted to talk to somebody, and because I was just boiling over with anger and feeling of just resentment and how I was treated. And so we got through that process. I came back to Washington and finished up my career with Washington.
Right.
And lo and behold, this movie is coming out. And I'm like, oh, shit. They're going to like make me look really like a fool. So they did the movie.
You're talking about winning.
I like the young man playing me. I like Wood Harris that's playing me.
Right.
Rodney, who's one of the producers, and Perlman, who wrote the book. I mean, I knew, and Mark Spears was like, you got to sue before the movie come out, and you're going to like, you need to like take it out. Don't even let them do this. And I was like, man, God has got this.
Yeah. Well, look, if it's being done honestly and with integrity,
a little embellishment there, done honestly.
Yes, but obviously a big difference than the way like Jerry West is portrayed, and and some of the facts have been a little bit,
Yeah,
embellished.
but it's movie making, and
I get it.
I say to Jerry, well,
Mhm,
Jerry, you are the logo.
mhm.
You are Olympic gold medalist. You are this
Yeah.
great man who's done so much for all athletes, but in particular for Black athletes
Mhm.
as general
Yes.
manager. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you have done so much.
Mhm.
Man, you can't let that little stuff there.
Well, but the fact it's getting so much publicity,
I
and
know.
and then the people who were not part of it, like I wasn't part of the 80 team, but I've been, part of the Laker organization and family since right after that. The public is thinking, well, then that's just the way Jerry is. I mean, if I'm seeing it on
Yeah, I know.
on a show, I'm seeing it, and he's wearing a Laker uniform, and it looks real. And that, I think, that's what the
That's
reaction.
what they. That's why I understand. But
Yeah,
see, since I'm a recovering person,
yeah,
I've been thrown down the
yeah.
drain. I've been to the Supreme Court. I've done all these things. So
Yep.
I just look at it differently.
Yes,
And of
for
course,
sure.
Magic is a little upset. Kareem, I
Yeah.
don't know why he's upset. I don't.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Hey, let's talk
but
about for a second about Kareem, because there's such a thread with Kareem throughout your, I guess, adult life, right?
yeah,
And we talked about how Kareem was part of a huge voice in the civil rights movement. Um, obviously he converted to Islam and embraced it.
we used to practice together for a
And
while.
right, and
Yeah,
and he advocated for you when you came to the Lakers, right? Your
yeah.
first game back after the Supreme Court decision, the first game you played was against Kareem
Kareem in
and the
Milwaukee.
Bucks, right? And he hugged you, he thanked you, right?
Right.
How is your relationship now with Kareem?
Still the same. We still love each other.
Yeah,
Still,
yeah,
that's my friend. That's my
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
So what happened was when I won the case, the
Hmm.
players would go down into the locker room and make me stand up by myself
Hmm.
before they would come back up to play the game. Kareem didn't go into the locker room. He stayed up and said,
Hmm.
Spence, come on over here. And he gave me
Yeah,
this big hug. And all of the media was there clapping and clicking the thing. And
yeah.
so that gave me the idea that I'm welcome to the NBA. So that was one beautiful thing.
That's
And then in
beautiful. Yeah.
1973, Kareem and he was trying to build this Cord motor car.
Uh-huh.
So it was in Seattle. So he
Yeah.
came to my house and lived with me. We're going to work on building this Cord. But what we was doing was training. So because I hadn't trained with another athlete like that other than my teammates. And so
Right.
that was training, was beautiful. And
Yeah.
then when my first daughter was born,
Mhm.
I'm coming from Lenox Hill Hospital on 77 to 78th Street and 3rd, and
Mhm.
I'm walking down the street. Hey, everything's good. I see somebody coming by in a cab. Why? What?
Yeah.
Is that you, Kareem? And it's Kareem. So he pulled over, jumped out of the cab. We went up to the brownstone and we
Oh,
chatted and talked about, religion,
that's
books,
beautiful. Yeah.
everything. It was
Yeah.
just such a beautiful thing. And then he welcomed my daughter into the world, my first
Yeah. Yeah.
daughter. And
Yeah.
then when he advocated for me with the Lakers, he was so disappointed that I fell into that trench of drugs and with the wrong people and stuff. And
Mhm.
there's no way he could get me out of it because I was like, every time he would come around, I was like, I gotta get away, I gotta get away. You know how drugs make you like, hey,
Right.
alcohol, like, I don't want that. Man, he's the devil, not me.
Yeah. Right.
So it was
Right.
that kind of thing. So what Kareem and those guys were trying to do,
Mhm.
and what I've been told, that they were looking to not let me get my hands on more money
Mhm.
because, I had money, but it was like, Iman and I was like on a budget because we could be acting crazy.
Yeah. Well, you
So
piss it
I
away.
turned everything. So we didn't use that money, but
Yeah.
that was going to be some nice Coke money.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
playoff share. So they took that away.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then all of the things that happened
Yeah.
was happened with good intent, is what I say.
Wow, that's amazing. You could look at it through that lens, because it sounds like it was vindictive to me. It was
Yeah, I
punishment.
know.
It was making an
But
example out of you. But as we know, that we make amends, we forgive, we understand, in hindsight. And it's amazing that now at this point in your life you can have that perspective, Spencer. Really.
yeah, and you know what? You know
Yeah.
what Kareem did
Yeah.
recently?
Mm.
He had his 75th birthday.
Yes.
I was the only player that he flew in for his birthday.
Beautiful. Yes, it was just like a month
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And
The
so
end of
so
the season.
funny thing about winter time, this is
Yeah.
how the winter time is working, how God works and
Yeah.
how power works. So all of a sudden I'm standing in the tunnel and we're getting ready to go out on the floor with Kareem and we're like, okay, Herbie Hancock, we're talking, yada, yada, yada. Here come LeBron and Russell, like, what? I was like, what are y'all doing? They grabbing me, hey man, yeah, baby. And then the other Lakers, hey man, come here, thank you, brother, thank you.
Yeah.
So then I go out on the floor and then the OKC team, you were Sonic, man, you one of us.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to thank you for what happened to us. So I said,
Yeah.
okay, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
Said, oh, winning time.
Oh my God. Well, look, then at least has accomplished something, right? I mean, I would hope it wouldn't have taken that for these guys to really kind of get it.
I know,
right? But
you know, hey.
Yeah, I got it. Spencer, before we go, we got to talk about Seattle because, you know, Seattle, one of the great cities for NBA basketball. I was personally like in shock when the team left. I had Gary Payton on the podcast, who's a good friend. And Gary talked so eloquently about the fact that he felt that everything he accomplished in Seattle has disappeared. Is like
all of my stuff has disappeared.
Right. I mean, your jersey only hung in the arena for I think 14 months before the team got sold. Yeah. So
and my ruling, everything is gone because you can't say, well, the Sonics are playing right now. And,
and who are the Sonics?
Spencer Haywood. That's the guy who went to the Supreme Court. All that stuff is gone.
So what's your hope? What's your hope and dream?
Well, we're talking about maybe 24, 25. The team is going to be back, and it will be back as the Sonics.
As the Sonics. Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah.
And then we're going to have a team here in Las Vegas.
That would be amazing.
It'd be Las Vegas Rattlers. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm just throwing that out there. But
the Gamblers, I don't know. But.
Yeah, the Gamblers. Something like that. But, you know, we just finished the...
How about the Las Vegas Compulsives? I think that would probably be good.
Nah. The Las Vegas Elvis.
Yeah, right. The Elvi. The Elvi. But you know what? When I was in Seattle, my daughter was looking at a college in Seattle 5 or 6 years ago, and you walk by the storefronts and there's still Sonic stuff up in windows. They're selling Durant jerseys. You know, when he was there, it's so tragic to me that city does not have a team, and it's going to be amazing when they do. And they have this beautiful new arena, the Climate Pledge Arena now.
Oh my God,
which is great.
It's going to be one big celebration.
Yeah.
And you know, I've been an advocate for Gary Payton as our first inaugural coach.
Oh, that would,
my opinion. You know.
Yeah. Well, who would be better, right?
Who would be better?
The Glove himself.
The Glove. Yeah.
So Spencer, before we go, I want to plug whatever you're doing right now. Your podcast, of course, the Spencer Haywood Rule is.
Well, if you can hold up that book is
the book.
You can pick up this book on Amazon.
Yep. Fantastic
great book.
Wonderfully written.
The Spencer Haywood Rule.
Yep.
And you can also listen to my podcast, which is really picking up.
No, your podcast is terrific. I love your podcast. I wrote to you right after I heard it because it's like the first episode was you yourself telling your story, which, you know, who does it better?
And it's called the Spencer Haywood Rule podcast. You can pick it up on all of the podcast locations, wherever you are.
Yeah.
And one of the last things that I am doing now with my own money is I saw the need for NBA and WNBA girls who are ladies who have like fallen through the crack. We don't have certain things. So I decided, well, I'm going to work with Roseman University, which is a medical school here in Las Vegas. And we're building a retirement center for my players.
Wow.
WNBA players. So,
really?
And I have not asked the players to make a contribution to the foundation to help do it. But I know that I got to put up the first money myself out of my little measly salary, my little measly money. But I think that they will come along and join me in helping to take care of the W as well as the NBA players. That's maybe a few ABA guys thrown in. So
fantastic. So you're talking about the Spencer Haywood Foundation. Can people find that online? And
yes.
Okay, great. Well, I personally, Legends of Sport, the platform, you know, will be huge advocates of that. Perhaps we can do a fundraising event at some point. You know,
well, we have one coming up probably probably is going to be at the MGM in a golf tournament.
Well, please invite
Kick
me.
it all off. Of course, you got to be there.
And whatever I can do, to donate, yes, but to donate, whatever a
I
Mamba,
need your lens.
Mamba book, whatever. Yeah.
I need your lens.
Yeah, because I can't play golf.
Well, tell me a little bit about your Mamba book. I mean, because I see it right back there. I got a Kobe story.
Yeah. Oh, that's the last thing I was going to ask you, the Kobe story. So, I documented all of Kobe's career. I was with him from day one, literally, when he became a Laker at 18 to when he, dropped the mic, Mamba out, and 20 years documented every moment. And we became very close. He trusted me to be in the inner circle, the inner sanctum with him throughout. And I watched him progress. I watched him from a wild-eyed rookie, to become a champion, a leader, a father, a husband. I watched him fall. I watched him pick himself up. I watched him ask for forgiveness. I watched him be a leader. And now his legacy really is our book. I mean, our book, The Mamba Mentality, which we collaborated on. He wanted to tell his story. This is 2018, about what the Mamba mentality meant to him and what being the Black Mamba really meant, because he was not, he was very sort of vague about that while he played. And he didn't want anybody else telling his story. He wanted it coming from him, and he wanted it illustrated through my photos. So I was deeply honored and humbled and everything else. And now the book is in 30 countries worldwide, being printed everywhere. And, Vanessa,
congratulations, my God.
Vanessa and I are talking about collaborating on another book together. So we'll see.
Well, Kobe sent for me to come down to Newport before he passed. And he was interested in doing the Spencer Haywood story.
No way.
Movie.
Really? Wow. And you chatted about that? Was anything?
But we chatted about it, but then he had to get over because Gigi had a tournament.
Yes.
So we had to leave. But I was with what's her name? Fairchild?
Andrea.
Andrea. So we spent a lot of time about it. But Kobe was the one player that understood everything that I went through.
Yes.
Everything that I had done for him and his family. And he wanted to put it on the big screen.
Wow, Spencer. Well, look, there's so many things that he was meant to do and destined to do. Then now it's up to the rest of us to pick up that mantle and run with it, right? So
guess who I had dinner with last week?
Who?
Joe and Pam.
Oh, well, you went to the event that? Yes, I was supposed to go to that event, but I was on call for the NBA playoffs. Yes. How was that?
It was great. Sonny Vaccaro, John Carlos.
Yes. I was in. Joe wrote to me, Joe Bryant, and I'd reached out, and I was going to actually bring the podcast and myself. And then I had to commit to the NBA for the Western Conference Finals. And then it ended up I got COVID. I couldn't go to either thing. So, but I told Rhonda, who I guess was running the event, I told her I'll be there next year. So a little bit more.
It was awesome. It was so special.
But Spencer, you are, I tell you something, man, as a person, I'm just so grateful that you came into my life, through the NBA. You've meant so much to so many people. You seem so at peace now at this point in your life, and that's truly an inspiring thing to me. And I wish you the best, man. Good health, and whatever I can do and whatever we can do to help. On the recovery side, PTSD. I had Bob Delaney on a few weeks ago, one of my great friends who's on the forefront of PTSD advocacy.
Well, that's what happened to me when I first went in to see my psychiatrist. Was he was saying, you're suffering from PTSD from Mississippi and that case.
Right.
And I said, I don't have a prostate problem.
That's what you thought. That's funny. Okay. Well, thank God you don't. But the fact that,
PSA,
of course. But the fact that you and Bob and we got to go back to Jerry West and his book, which came out 12, 13 years ago, and of course now Kevin Love and DeMar and all these guys. And that mental health is really. It's not, it's not pushed under the rug. It's not like left in the shadow.
Not like it used to be. Right. And guess what? One more thing.
Yeah.
My daughter, my 30-year-old.
Yeah.
She was a former player, and she went on and went to medical school and ended up a psychiatrist
Mm,
who
mhm,
now is contracted by the NBA Players Association.
mm,
She's one of their
mm.
on staffers,
Oh, that's fantastic.
and she's
Well, I'd love to
doing what
meet
she
her.
saw me do all of these years.
I would love to meet her if you want to connect us. I would love
I
to
sure
meet her at
will.
least by email and chat and stuff. But our paths will continue to cross, my friend. And again, I
Oh,
thank
you
you.
didn't. Who you taking
Who am I taking to what? To
in the
in this
in the,
in the
NC
series?
the series?
This is the first finals I have not worked in 40 straight finals.
Yeah.
I took this finals off for a few reasons, but mostly because last summer I wasn't really too keen on traveling this year coming up. There's too much COVID going on.
And it's back again.
Yeah, and it's back again. And I actually caught it. Like I told you, I caught
I've
it.
had it as well.
Yeah.
Twice.
So, I sat down with my bosses at the NBA and I just said, look, I'm great with doing games at home. Let's tail back a little bit on that. But when it comes to traveling, I really want to limit that. And they were fine with it.
Oh,
It's
yeah, of
weird
course.
to be watching it at home, but
I bet it is after 40 years.
yeah, but I'll tell you something. I was shocked after game one. This is going to air, we're going to air this after the finals are over. So
Yeah.
whoever wins, good
Wins.
luck to them and congratulations,
Yeah.
but the Warriors are amazing. The Celtics, of course, with their history and their legacy, somehow that leprechaun has a way of just getting
He
you fly in
popped
the
up.
ointment.
He jumped up. He popped up. So
Yeah.
I've been communicating with Dave Cowens because we
Yeah.
were fellow members on the board of directors for the retired players.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so we were like, take
Yeah.
them down low, do this. We were just
Yeah.
talking, yipping our mouth.
Well, there's nothing like NBA basketball, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
And but man, I can't thank you enough, Spencer. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
making the time today. You got a big fan in me and our platform, and whatever I can do personally and collectively, please don't hesitate.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, my friend. Great seeing
Bye.
you. Take
Bye.
care. Well, that conversation could have gone on for like another hour and probably will next time I get together with Spencer. Can't thank Spencer Haywood enough for being an incredible guest on this week's episode of the Legends of Sport podcast. Man, what an incredible person, human being, everything he's been through and willing to share the ups, the downs, the positives, the negatives. His legacy is amazing. So thank you again, Spencer, for being a great, great guest and a great, great friend of the Legends of Sport podcast. And folks, please, 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 please do yourself a favor. Get this book. Not only is it a great summer reading, but this is a history really of the NBA that you probably won't really realize until you read it, how complicated Spencer's life was, but also what the NBA was like when he first entered the league, when he first tried to enter the league, and then what it's become now. And we all really have Spencer Haywood to thank for opening those gates for everyone. I hope the players of today really, really get it and understand. Kudos to my good friends, Mark Spears and Gary Washburn, for this fantastic book. So I'm plugging it. And I'm also plugging Spencer's foundation, the Spencer Haywood Foundation, which you can find online. And I will keep all of you informed through our social media as we continue to work with Spencer on all the great efforts he's doing on the court, off the court, in the world of recovery and everything else. So thanks again, Spencer. Folks, I want to thank again, as always, my head researcher and my producer, Veronica On. Fantastic job on this podcast. As always, Veronica, thank you. And remember, folks, you can always find us on the iHeart app and online, as well as Apple and Spotify and your favorite podcast platform. We really, really appreciate all the support that everyone has given the Legends of Sport podcast, and we are going to continue to bring guests at the caliber of Spencer Haywood to you guys every week. So keep coming back and tell your friends. Also, keep following us, as always, on Instagram at Legends of Sport, our Twitter at Legends_of_Sport. Our website is legendsofsport.net, and our YouTube and TikTok channels, Legends of Sport. My photography can be found on Instagram at ADB Photo Inc. So we'll be back next week with another great episode and another great guest. Thanks again, everyone, for keeping. Thanks again, everyone, for keep coming back. And until then, as always, stay safe and stay well.